U.S. House opening, and the Republican Matt Van Epps did win over Afton Ben, but it was a district Trump won by 22 points, and this guy won by 9 points. So that's the trend. It's doubled. It's a huge trend towards the Democrats.
I had hoped she would get closer, and I'm a little concerned because, sure, improve the performance in the district, absolutely, but lost. And but she lost, and I am concerned that we may get closer, but we will continue to lose in these districts.
You're the one who watches Morning Joe.
Yes.
They talk about all the districts that Trump won by 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have this kind of movement, I mean, that's how you win back the House.
I hope so. I'm
not overly confident.
I understand. I'm just saying, I think there's a little too much rose-colored glasses on this particular thing.
No rose-colored glasses from Ruben Gallego in Arizona.
Wait, I have another. Are we going to do?
Well, let's do the New York Democratic gains.
Whatever. I'm going to tell you about another loss in New Jersey. Your pal Jim McGreevey lost the mayor's race in Newark.
I didn't know that, but I have to say, I saw he was in a runoff with a more progressive candidate.
Yes.
And I watched him on Marsha Kramer's show, forgive me. And all Jim is doing, this guy is sitting there very calmly answering the questions, and he's go, you're wrong. And he's like this, and he's grimacing. And I'm saying, I wanted to write him a note, and I say, Jim, they're not going to vote for you if you're this unhappy. People, look at Zoran Mamdani. You smile at people. You don't grimace at people.
That's a very good report because it shows that the people are watching. They're not falling for actually it's being compared to Andrew Cuomo losing, the failed governor.
Anger.
And the failed governor.
I can do it.
Yes. Privilege. I'm entitled.
Right.
And
so Jim, you need go back to school.
Well, he went to the seminary. He became.
No, they didn't take him as a priest. I mean, I think the work he did with formerly incarcerated women and formerly incarcerated women was very nice.
Yeah.
All right. And then in New York, we had these Democratic gains. I hadn't been aware of this on election day.
Well, we reported some of them.
Well, this is a blue wave in New York.
Upstate.
Democrats flipped 50 seats. Republicans flipped 1 upstate.
In various offices.
Wow. This is just small offices across the board. It's got to.
That is the great harbinger.
Yes. Finally. Yes.
Yeah, no, but they won.
Yes.
They won. And that's what's important is that they can win.
Some districts are almost impossible to flip. I mean, how many Senate seats? How many Senate seats have we got to flip?
Look, I think we'll flip a couple.
Okay.
And
I hope so.
Look, I thought she had a chance in Tennessee, but no. I just don't want us to get caught up in this. We're so close, but we won these seats in New York.
Well, now Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego, he's the one who replaced what's her name,
Kirsten Sinema. Or Kristen Sinema,
goodness.
whichever.
But then, he texted to somebody. It was private, but it's out there now. And he texted things about his party, the Democrats, not allowing men to be men or women to be hot. We used to be the fun party, the party of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And he defends all this and says, "Oh, we're a big tent." And somebody said, "What does this have to do with being a big tent? This is offensive. What are you doing?" So, not good. No. I think your presidential run is over.
Was he planning on
but
that?
I said that about Trump when he mocked John McCain.
Interesting statistics from LPAC, the Lesbian Political Action Committee. They did some research. 87% of LGBTQ plus women and non-binary people are registered to vote. That's good, 87% registered. But only 57% are likely to vote in 2026 in this poll. And 26% are likely not to vote.
Well, we have some work to do here. So, but I think 100% of our viewers are going to vote.
Someone said to me, the LGBTQ committee, they supported Trump, didn't they? I said, are you out of your mind? 86% voted for
I don't want to flood you
Kamala.
with, we've already reported on this, but, Zoran Mamdani won 82% of the LGBTQ vote, and we were 14% of the electorate. None of this 10% stuff. And that was the margin of victory for him. Now, no victory in Philadelphia. The William Way LGBTQ Community Center, which has been there since the 70s, basically, right? It's going to permanently close the doors to its longtime Center City home on December 18th. Now, they say the programming is going to...
of that home, I think. Yeah.
They say the programming is going to continue at other locations.
Yeah, there's the center. Yeah, they're going to move it around. They had a couple of churches, I think, and maybe other places are taking on the program. They needed to repair the building, and they didn't have the money, high repair costs. And part of that is because Senator Fetterman removed $1 million in funding from a Senate bill that had been earmarked for them.
Well, he's in his last term.
That I believe.
He can't survive a primary. He may run as a Republican. I don't know.
Independent.
Or, who was the vice president? Joe Lieberman did that in Connecticut.
Oh, please.
All right. Okay. So in New York, a trans woman is suing Memorial Sloan Kettering. Her name is Jennifer Capasso, 42, trans woman. She'd had a bunch of cancer operations. She was going to have another one. So she thought, I'm going to turn my phone on in my bag so I can hear what they're talking about when they're doing the operation. And it's true, so that you can maybe learn something about what's going on.
Well, the other thing that's interesting is you hear belongings may end up in the operating room.
Right.
And
she recorded them making remarks about her man parts and saying being trans is not right, doesn't make sense. I mean, they're just chatting while they're operating. Yeah. And, the hospital is saying that, first of all, what she did was wrong. I don't know if it's illegal, but I don't think it is. And but it's discouraging to see
they said she should not be classified as female on the hospital forms. They got the forms changed so that she was reclassified as male on her records, and then she applied to have it changed back. They had changed it to male in about 10 seconds. It took, I think, like 2 years for her to get it changed back to female.
This is Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York, for
the
God's sakes.
Premier cancer hospital.
Right. All right. Okay.
I have many friends who have been there lately.
All right. Let's go to University of Mississippi. We told you about, there was this student named Jimmy J. Lee who was murdered in 2022. And they brought this guy, what's his name?
Sheldon Harrington.
To trial last year without the body, having found the body. And it was a hung jury, 11-1, couldn't convict him. So they brought him back. They have found the body, and he was convicted and sentenced to 30 years.
So they'd been in a relationship, a sexual relationship, and Sheldon did not want this revealed. And that is why he killed Jimmy, who was 20 at the time, 3 years ago when he was killed. And now he's been convicted and sentenced to 40 years. I do just want
to quote from Jimmy's father, Jimmy Lee Sr. He said, "I had to witness my son's skeletal remains. I touched his skull. No father should have to go through that. No parent should have to go through that. I miss my son every single day. I miss the conversations, traveling down the road with him. I can't hear his voice anymore. I can't see his face anymore." So the family was standing by their son.
A footnote to the Philadelphia William Way story. Back to Philadelphia, Mark Siegel, a longtime activist, Stonewall veteran, continued to harass Ken Burns about Baron von Steuben, identified with an anti-gay slur in the American Revolution series, as opposed
without referring to anything else about him, right. Just that he liked to diddle with boys, exactly. Which is a slur.
So they went back and forth in correspondence, and finally Ken Burns' operation got fed up with Mark saying, "Really, you should change this," and they wrote Mark a note that said, "We are not changing the film.
Well, when he did the Civil War documentary, they got a lot of pushback about the way they treated Black people and others, and they have changed on some of that. And they did a lot of Native American stuff in the American Revolution, but they are being bigoted about this. It's Florentine Films. Google it. You can find their form and you can complain about it.
It's the kind of thing that sounds like they go on the defensive. All they had to do was remove that line and put in something about him being an out gay man.
I wrote a line for them. They wouldn't take it.
No,
it's simple.
I've been through that.
It's simple.
Yeah.
George Washington knew that he was gay and needed him and employed him to train the troops anyway.
Whatever. They would not make the change. And they get so defensive about this. And maybe this is me with rose-colored glasses, but I would suspect that somewhere down the road, when encountering this issue again, they will do better.
Well,
maybe not.
Well, they didn't do better after they put Eleanor Roosevelt in the closet.
That's true.
Come on.
Well, 60 Minutes said Martino was straight.
Yeah. All right. In Florida, this is a horrible story. A man was partially paralyzed after a neighbor shot him and used anti-gay slurs. Now, he was picking up some furniture or something, not on this person's property, and this guy is saying, "Get off my lawn," and shoots him.
Yeah.
And he is paralyzed.
Kyle McFarland. There was this strip of property between their two houses that was a sort of neutral zone. And the neighbor's husband and wife had been harassing him for a long time and using anti-LGBT slurs, and finally just shot him.
So the guy who did it is charged with attempted murder, and is being hit. The wife was not arrested, the girlfriend rather of this guy.
In Oregon, a father freaked out when he found his school wanted 6th, 8th, and 11th graders to take a survey that included questions about sexual orientation and gender identity. The father had already signed an opt-out form for this survey, but he's a member of Turning Point, and he wanted to pursue this. Now, I have to say that I do think there should be prep for a survey like this. They should have been educated on these issues before taking that survey. I don't know whether they were, and I don't know whether the survey was anonymous, because they were asking about their own sexual identity and gender identity. So I think there are questions, but this guy went way over the top. Now, GLSEN, formerly known as the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, now just known as GLSEN, has a very, very good paper on best practices for surveys like this. I looked it up because I was interested in the subject and how you're supposed to handle this. And they're now known as the Gender Equality Network. I highly recommend what they have written about.
Well, I don't want to skip too far ahead. We'll get to a review of Heated Rivalry, but I looked up whether the actors playing these hot gay roles are gay. And the director says, "Oh, you're not allowed to ask about that." All right, you're not allowed to ask about that, but there are ways of getting at it. And I think, hey, try casting a non-trans actor in a trans role these days. There will be an uproar, but we still get a lot of roles taken from us.
And we have gay people playing straight roles.
Well, they're the majority, but we're the minority. No, I mean it.
I hear you. I'm in favor of that.
I mean, seriously,
yeah.
to really convey what people go through emotionally, this is an issue. It's not about being gay, but it's about having that experience.
I agree.
We worked at Hedrick Martin Institute. You couldn't ask people if they were gay. They're going to work there. Do they have conversance with the issue?
Well, a little more explicit production may be the documentary that will air on PBS stations this weekend, called Outcast Nation, LGBTQA+, Homeless, Unseen in New York City. And it's a 90-minute documentary about homeless LGBT youth in New York, featuring, among other places, New Alternatives, our favorite.
Andy Humm is the president of the board over there.
I've heard that. And it was created and run by Kate Barnhart, who
forever
joined ACT UP, was a teenager. That's how long we've known her.
Yes.
But it's airing Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. on Channel 25 in New York City, WNYE, but it will be available streaming on the PBS site and on YouTube.
Okay.
Outcast Nation.
All right.
Looking forward to that.
All right, you tell me when you're ready for international news.
I'm ready.
Okay, so one Japanese court has ruled that the country's ban on same-sex marriage is constitutional after 5 have ruled that it isn't. I don't know how they're going to get this resolved.
Well, it's like the Supreme Court here. They have a Supreme Court now that they have conflicting decisions in different areas of Tokyo. It will go to the Supreme Court to be resolved.
Okay.
But this court said, the classic Parliament must decide this question,
And
because we don't pay attention when the Constitution declares equal protection.
so we told you about this Russian activist, Andrei Kotov, who died in police custody while he was, accused of allegedly promoting LGBTQ issues. How did he promote them? He ran a gay travel agency. He died in custody, took his own life, apparently. You never know over there. And they tried him anyway, now that he's dead, and convicted him.
Correct.
You can't be too careful with these dead people.
I can't.
I mean, it's just too much.
Please, don't they have enough to do these days in Russia? They have to convict dead people. In Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, 200 men were arrested at a health center, a gay bathhouse, basically. And they were accused of suspicious immoral activities by male patrons. So they're under arrest. And now there is word that next year, Malaysia may pass a morality law which will criminalize all non-marital sex.
When governments get in trouble, they start going after us as scapegoats. It's happening right here in the United States.
But aren't we happy to see that Keir Starmer has seen the light about violence against gay people? He was asked when was the last time he got angry, and he said he was absolutely furious that his niece and her wife were beaten up by thugs. He had attended their wedding, which he said was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then he says, hold it. I thought the days of beating up people because they were gay were well behind us.
Well, Keir, I have some words for you, Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, who seems to support all these anti-trans decisions.
Yes.
Because now they've leaked a document about how they're going to implement this decision that men are men and women are women. It may be legitimate for businesses or services to ask people to provide confirmation that they are of the eligible sex to use the restroom. I don't know how they're going to do all this. It goes on and on. It is grotesque. It is grotesque.
Perhaps Ruben Gallego could have a new job in the UK. There are something called the Women's Institute has had to announce that they will no longer have trans women as members, and they're very sad about it. They
have accepted trans women for 40 years. 40 years. This is not new. And now they're going to exclude. Oh, we have to. This is what the law says. Come on, stand up.
Well, it's like in this country, Trump gets elected. One of the first things he does is issue an executive order that there are only 2 genders. And everybody takes that as a mandate to get rid of anything pro-trans.
Well,
like the government can stop everything in the country that doesn't conform to his executive order. It's crazy.
And Trump sues the BBC because he says he didn't like the way they edited something for him. So they had this big flagship lecture called the Wreath Lecture, based on the gay founder of the BBC, by the way. And this guy, Rutger Bergman, gave a speech to 500 people. And then when they put it on the radio, they cut his line about Trump being the most corrupt president in American history, which is just a fact. I mean, and and there's a lot of corruption over the years in the American presidency, but it's obvious that he's the most corrupt.
No one had the imagination to rise to his levels.
And he says his lecture was about the paralyzing cowardice of today's elites. And that is what we were up against. Now, I want to go back to, hey, some good news. It's not news when a woman tennis pro comes out, but only the second male tennis pro has come out. Mika Brunold. He's Swiss, 21 years old, rising star in the ATP circuit. He's ranked 289th, all right. But he is the second next to Brazil's Reyes de Silva, who came out in 2024.
I liked what Mika had to say about tennis. He was asked about success. And he said, success is about discovering your personality and staying true to yourself, not about how many wins you rack up. And
Right.
I thought that was insightful.
How about that Pope?
How about him?
So, there's another new document out of the Vatican opposing polyamory and gay marriage, but they quote Walt Whitman in the document to support what they're saying about marriage and people being together. It's just incredible.
What did Walt say that they quoted?
I didn't get into all that. We don't have much time on this show. But
we have enough to listen to Walt, but you don't have it.
I don't have it.
Okay. Well, it doesn't.
They quoted a bunch of poets.
It is no change in the Vatican approach to marriage.
Walt Whitman, by the way, was gay as a goose.
Not just diddling with young boys.
No. Well,
maybe.
You could get into that.
Then Robert Mansell.
Well, this is an old friend of mine in London and a longtime viewer of the show. He was a gay. There he is.
On the right.
Yes, I'm on the left. In between was Anne Reid. Now, Robert was also a playwright, and he wrote a play about Cosima Wagner. And Anne played the role and took us out to lunch, which was lovely. But I mean, he was a musician, he was a composer, he was a playwright. He was a sort of a Renaissance man. His most recent, he did a play about Robert Oppenheimer before all this Oppenheimer mania. And he wrote a lot about Shakespeare, wrote a musical and a play about Shakespeare. So a lovely guy, and I'm going to miss him a lot.
Wrote a lot of
81.
Nice notes to us as just a regular viewer of the show.
81. And then the playwright Tom Stoppard, you all read that he died, and he was, look, next to Shakespeare, I probably spent more time in watching the plays of Tom Stoppard than anybody else. And we could go on and on about, Coast of Utopia, sitting through 3 plays in 9 hours, but he made it worth it. And he also wrote The Invention of Love, about the gay poet laureate of England, A.E. Housman, with Oscar Wilde as a character in that. And that was a very poignant play. And of course, his last play was about his Jewish roots, Leopoldstadt, which he discovered late in life. And about he found out that all 4 of his grandparents died in the Holocaust. He didn't know this until he was 50 because his mother kept it from him.
Yeah. She had sort of implied that one of his grandparents may have been like a little Jewish.
Well, anyway, he also wrote many screenplays or doctored them. He wrote Empire of the Sun for Spielberg. He wrote Shakespeare in Love
Both
with Mark
of those
Norman.
were great. Yeah.
And but he also wrote. He also helped with Schindler's List, Star Wars movies, and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So, and made a lot of money doing that stuff.
People do.
Well, he was great.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. World AIDS Day.
Yes. Big deal.
So ACT UP has a new protest sign versus RFK.
It's the brain worms.
The public man-made death. And it's about how we've dismantled USAID, which has already killed 600,000 around the world, including 420,000 children. Now, look, I'm kind of glad that Trump banned the observance of World AIDS Day, because it really got people mad and is making people do it again and be out there about it.
Well, I take your point, but really it's so disgusting. Yes, exactly.
Because, again, we're up to 44 million deaths
But
worldwide.
that poster is a takeoff on one we did against Reagan in the 80s that was the same color and layout, and was AIDSgate under his name, and now it's been changed to Healthgate under RFK Jr.
Should we go to Washington?
Well, yes.
I have other AIDS news. But...
Yeah, but let's do the World AIDS Day demo at the White House in protest of things like this.
100 HIV activists blocked the intersection to protest Trump's cuts on Monday.
They're chanting PEPFAR saves lives. That's the president's emergency program.
Well, PEPFAR received full funding by Congress, but this guy Russell Vogt from the Office of Management and Budget, helped cancel $4.9 billion for HIV/AIDS prevention and other foreign aid health programs. So what's happening around the world, is just...
Well, they're just ruthless in saying we're not going to do anything to help anybody anywhere. This is America first. And it's so short-sighted to say an understatement. But the more you cut off contact with the world, the more you're screwing yourself. And this will definitely come back to bite us.
Well, I went to the AIDS memorial where they, read all the names of people with AIDS. I have to say, they have 5 people reading names at the same time, so you can't hear anything. It's a little crazy.
Well, that's how you get through the names.
Well, but what's the point?
Yeah.
I'd like to hear the names.
Yeah.
But they did have speakers, and one of them was Eric Sawyer. And Eric Sawyer is a veteran AIDS activist who goes back to ACT UP from the beginning in '87. And
HIV positive, as you will see here, since '81. Let's listen to Eric.
Sawyer, how do you keep going doing what you're doing?
It's really, really disempowering and enraging what we're seeing during this current time done by this administration in Washington. We fought for decades to get life-saving programs put in place that provided people with human rights, with legal protection, with housing, with medical care, with prevention programs to stop the spread of HIV. And in a matter of days, this administration killed all of those programs, defunded them, and sentenced millions of people to death. It's so difficult to get up in the morning, except for the fact that I know we have to get up in the morning and recreate the actions that we did in the 80s and the 90s to fight for our lives.
You're an ACT UP veteran from the very beginning, and how long have you been living with HIV?
Since 1981, I've been symptomatic, long before they had even discovered the HIV virus.
And you're still one of our leaders who goes down there and puts your life on the line. What's that like? So maybe to encourage other people to do it now.
Well, I'm lucky enough to have white privilege and at this point in my life have survived decades of living with HIV. And I have a certain degree of survivor guilt for having survived and thankfulness that I am alive. And as long as I continue to stand upright and breathe, I'm going to make my voice heard to let it be known that people with AIDS deserve to live, drug users deserve to live, LGBTQ people deserve to live. Our rights are the same as everybody else's rights. Our rights are human rights, and everyone has a human right.
Amen.
Well, we're thankful he's still out there. And
extremely. And what shines through for me in this particular moment is his honesty. He's so direct and honest, and just a fantastic, compassionate, smart human being. I've known him since the early ACT UP days, and he just is spectacular. But his honesty about himself and about the situation is really impressive.
We hope you will all be inspired. And there's encouragement out of Germany, a 7th case of a patient becoming HIV-free. Now, in this case, the patient received a stem cell transplant to treat blood cancer, but he's only the 2nd of the 7 who received stem cells that were not actually resistant to the virus, strengthening the case that HIV-resistant cells may not be necessary for an HIV cure.
But in this case, what is necessary is that you have cancer and you have to have your immune system destroyed to be given these stem cells.
Yes.
And that is not a good or easy system. And therefore, they recommend that people who don't have cancer and are much better off just continuing to take antiretrovirals.
And what do you think about the discovery of an antibody against HIV at the University Hospital in Cologne?
It's a test tube result. I'm very skeptical of test tube results. We've seen them by the thousands for many years. If they are finding something that can kill HIV.
I thought they gave it to some mice too, but
well, it's essentially the same thing.
The point is, they look. They went through 800 antibodies that people who have HIV but seem to have some resistance, and they isolated this one. And if they can, manufacture.
Well, look, these are all hopeful events, but none of them are an effective cure yet. What is encouraging is that they're continuing to work on it, even in the face of all this government rejection and refusal to participate or fund it. The government has cut out so much funding for research. It's just
it's
shameful. In New York City, here's a not so good report. In 2024, which is the most recent data, new HIV infections up 17%. And the acting health commissioner says progress has stalled in preventing new HIV infections.
I was on a panel with a woman from HASA, which provides AIDS services, and the demand for services has gone up because of all this.
Exactly. But riding to the rescue, Dmitry Daskalakis is back.
Well, okay.
we last saw him stomping out of the CDC in high dudgeon.
Not stomping, he was smiling.
Well, he was
angry.
He was angry, and he was determined to speak out against the Trump administration, and walked out of the CDC. But now he's back in New York. He is the new chief medical officer for the Callan Lord Health Center,
which is the LGBTQ center named after Michael Callan and Audre Lorde.
Yes, they treat a much wider population, but in fact, a very diverse population.
They do.
And he also is on the Mamdani transition team on the health committee. Even before he took this job. So, Dmitry, we'll expect to see you at this table early and often.
Okay.
When you're back in New York.
And he's been a guest several times. And let's go to the U.S.-Mexico border. In the Tijuana side, there was a kiss-in on World AIDS Day, a defiant demonstration.
Third annual.
Yes. Organized by Impact Global. And we're fighting the U.S. at this point.
Yes, but again, we have always done gay positive images for AIDS activism because homophobia, as we know with the education we did in the schools, is a huge barrier to doing AIDS education. So anytime you are trying to destigmatize HIV, you have to destigmatize homosexuality too.
Well, speaking of barriers, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s anti-vax campaign is now set to end hepatitis B vaccines for infants. Now, they had cut the rates of hepatitis B in children by 99%. And now they're going to say, oh, wait till they're 12 years old or something like that.
The system has been to give it to them at birth. And that's what cut the number of infections. And now they're going to wait till they're 12. And all this because of some phony quack who thinks that the vaccine is dangerous. They don't have any proof that it's dangerous, but they're just going to change that.
Now, I was trying to remember how we all felt about Walter Dowdle, who was the head of the CDC and number 2 for a while, but also interim head of the CDC during the Reagan era. Do you remember what we all felt about Walter Dowdle back then?
I had the same question. I didn't have a chance to research it.
I did do some research. I went to look at some of the things he wrote, especially in 1983, 1985. His language was sensitive and scientific. But the thing is, he was part of the Reagan administration. And who was speaking out? I mean, Fauci wasn't speaking out in
Correct.
those days. Nobody was
No,
inside,
so
except Everett Koop eventually,
but
who was the Surgeon General.
he seems to have been a beloved guy, but please inform us if you know about Walter Dowdle, because we don't remember. But I do have two bits of news about him that I thought were very positive. One is he's the one who discovered that there were, in fact, two different herpes viruses, the cold sore producing one around the mouth and genital herpes, and that they were not the same thing, which was very helpful.
And his team discovered the cause of Legionnaire's disease.
Yes, and
which was supposed to be the model for fighting HIV, but they didn't.
They lived, the CDC's in Atlanta, so he was living there with his family a couple of miles from headquarters, and he would walk to the office every day. And his wife reported that he would take a garbage bag with him, and on his way home, he would pick up garbage and fill the garbage bag. And his daughter thought he was a garbage man.
Well,
so I'll give him points for that.
All right. Walter Dowdle, dead at 94.
Of cancer.
Okay. All right.
Entertainment news.
Brandy Carlisle is set to perform America the Beautiful at the Super Bowl, 60.
Yep.
Charlie Puth
Puth
will perform the national anthem. Coco Jones will do Lift Every Voice and Sing. And Bad Bunny is headlining the halftime show.
Well, it's interesting because the NFL
It's getting pretty gay.
Well, they're resisting the Trump anti-DEI rules. They have populated this Super Bowl with a variety of people by race, sexual orientation, national origin, or
the players in the NFL are very diverse.
They are.
No out gay ones right now, but
the
diverse.
The NFL is aware of that, and they play to that. And they, unlike a lot of other people that are scared of Trump, they are not. And having, the main event is the halftime show and the Star Spangled Banner, but America the Beautiful was added a few years ago, and the Black National
Written
Anthem.
by a lesbian, yes?
You may be thinking of Mine Eyes Have Seen.
No. We'll get you that next week.
I know who you're thinking of. Julia.
Right.
What's her name?
All right. Tell us about the Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Well, I think I told you last week that the Real Housewives all over were coming out about their bisexual or lesbiterian, as we like to say,
as you like to
leanings. And Portia Williams, who we last week said was dating both a man and a woman, has now come out with her female partner. I don't know if they're exclusive, but Portia at 44 on the left there, and her girlfriend, Patrice Sway McKinney, are in front of a big Christmas display and looking very, very happy. Congratulations, Portia.
So a lot of people seem very excited about this hockey gay series on HBO Max, Heated Rivalry. Christian Cooper says it's about two closeted professional hockey players at the top of their game. They really are stars.
They're on different teams, aren't they?
Yes. Oh, yes. And then the one secretly, he says, topping the other. It's incendiary with much more explicit sex than, say, red, white, and royal blue. 2 episodes have dropped so far. I devoured them promptly. The show features hot stars with great chemistry, Connor Story and Hudson Williams. They have a palpable need for each other that we haven't seen since Heath Ledger and
Jake Gyllenhaal.
There you go. So, all right.
Well, now that we're on Westerns, the Laramie Project, the most performed play?
You're triggering me.
Yeah.
Okay, but go ahead.
Is being revived for its 25th anniversary at the Minetta Lane Theater on December 4th, 5th, and 6th.
It's a great show about, the aftermath of the killing of Matthew Shepard.
And it's very verite. The actors portray the townspeople, and everybody's telling their version of the story.
When they opened it off Broadway here, they brought all the people up from Laramie to stand on the stage, and that was quite moving.
And coming next spring, a new revival of Death of a Salesman, starring Nathan Lane as Willie Loman.
With out director Joe Mantello directing, they have been talking about this for 30 years together. Oh,
Well, Nathan's finally aged into it.
Well, previews begin April 9th, 14 weeks only at the Winter Garden, which is a 1,600-seat theater.
Well, Laurie Metcalf plays the wife.
Co-produced by Scott Rudin on his
I know. He's trying to
rehab
work
tour,
yeah.
and the recently out Barry Diller.
Well, it should be a big deal. We'll see whether it succeeds. And we only have a few seconds, but I want to let you know that for our Christmas and New Year's show, we are going to show you a couple of great documentaries on Christmas. Brendan Fay's
Taking a Chance on God about John McNeil,
and New Year's United in Anger by Jim Hubbard about ACT UP.
I'll be back next week.
Bye.
Have a few seconds.